Welcome to Basic and Bookish Podcast, the perfect place to crash out over our favorite books and connect with readers just like you. I'm Kinsey.
And I'm Karly.
Today is about our initial thoughts and reactions to Rites of the Starling by Devney Perry, Book 2 in the Shield of Sparrows trilogy. You can find the timestamps down in the show notes.
And with that, content warning and spoiler alert, this episode is full of Rites of the Starling spoilers. If you haven't read the book, please note there may be specific trigger warnings you may want to check before reading. We will make sure to mention the following trigger warnings before any discussion of them: SA, as well as animal death. We will provide timestamps in the show notes so you can safely skip ahead if that is more supportive to your mental health. If you want to reach out to know specific parts of the book you may need to skip, please feel free to reach out to us on social media.
Due to the nature of this book, this podcast is rated R in content and language. If you'd like to skip the ads and have access to full video formats, it's available now on Patreon. That link can be found in our show notes.
Now prepare to join the chaos. Honestly, we blame the ADHD. All right, after finishing the book and seeing everybody crash out on social media, we have to get the ending off our chest. I'm so curious what your initial thoughts were, Kinsey. And I also want to know, did you cry?
So I am the formal crash out queen, and it's very surprising that I'm about to report that I did not cry, actually. I think the anticipation from the ARC readers saying, oh my gosh, like I was sobbing, made me find it, I don't want to say difficult to get too attached to the new characters, but the entire time I was anticipating something really horrible to happen. And like, I've read other books that had dramatic irony and I knew there was something bad that was going to happen, but I still crashed out. But I just didn't cry. So I was really, really shocked. I think majority of the reason why I didn't cry, though, was because I was so excited about being right, which has also happened to me in the past in books where most people usually cry and freak out. But I'm just like, yeah, I knew it. That I'm celebrating too much to be sad. But like, I will clarify, I was really sad and I was maybe starting to tear up a little bit, but I could have also just been really tired because it was like 1 a.m. when I finished. Mm-hmm. But did you cry?
I didn't cry at the end.
But did you cry at another part in the book?
I did. I didn't like cry. I teared up at another part of the book. I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But the end of the book, as far as goes, yeah, I did not crash out. I did not cry at the end of this book. To a certain extent, it just felt inevitable. Like the whole book, it felt inevitable. I definitely found the questions I had at the end of book 1 more compelling than the questions I had at the end of book 2, personally. Okay. But yeah, I didn't crash out like everybody else did. And everybody was crying on social media. So I was prepared to cry, but it just didn't hit me.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely missed out. But aside from the crying, my initial thoughts after finishing the book is that I really enjoyed it. I liked it more than I liked Shield of Sparrows. Like, to me, Shield of Sparrows was maybe slightly overhyped. I think I rated it 4 stars. And this one I did rate slightly better, but I did dock some points. I'll get into that in a bit. But I did enjoy this more overall.
I enjoyed Shield of Sparrows more. I think there was just something about book 1 where it was just these beasts keep showing up and everybody's like, she's clearly being hunted in book 1. And I think there was just like an intensity to that I just didn't feel in this book.
For me, I was just really intrigued by the mystery of the new point of view. And that's what kept me going. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. But Again, I feel like I just keep getting ahead of our questions here.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to try to hold that in. But yeah, I do understand where you're getting at of it being less adventurous in a way. But there was more mystery. And I love having a little bit more mystery. I want to think more. And in this case, it did deliver. But
yeah, I get that.
With the mystery comes confusion. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how confused were you reading the book?
Maybe a 3.
Oh.
Like, I feel like there was only one specific thing that was confusing me, and it was the Vosters. I feel like I got to the end of that book, and I'm like, wait, so which ones are they supposed to align themselves with? And which ones are the bad ones? And, like, at the end, I almost feel like I just need to go reread maybe, like, the last 4 or 5 chapters of the book, like, as the physical book instead of the audio book, because I wasn't really paying attention to their names for the Vosters and, like, which one was with which of them at any given time. So that I did get a little lost in the sauce. But everything else, as far as that first chapter that is from this first sparrow, and then those chapters from Caspia and stuff, I really wasn't confused at all with that. I'm good at being along for the ride, I guess.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I was very confused. If I had put it on a scale, I think honestly it may have been around a 7. This was not the book to not reread. I went on social media. I was looking at all of my friends' recaps and listening to recaps. And I was just like, wait, what? Who is this person? And I think it didn't help me that I actually started this book by audiobooking it. And I've discussed in previous episodes that we've had that audiobooking is just really difficult for me with fantasy. With my ADHD brain, I just don't latch on to the material. So I switched really quickly to the physical book, but I was just like, wait, who is this? What's going on? I'm so confused. I even went on the Discord by like chapter 2 or 3, and I had created an entire family tree for Caspia. And I was like, do we know the names of Odessa's mom and dad? I was trying to like right away figure out who the heck are these people. I was like, is it her niece? Is it her cousin? Is it whatever? And so I was just like very lost in the sauce. And I missed the fact that the first chapter, the prologue, was the original Sparrow. And so when I pulled out the original book and didn't do the audiobook, I went back and I reread and I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense. But yeah, I definitely should have reread Shield of Sparrows before Rites of the Starling. So I was very confused. I was confused by the introduction. It just didn't pick up where I was expecting it to. And I didn't remember why Odessa was with one of the Fosters and what they were doing. And so I don't know. I was very lost in the beginning. And then it started to make more sense. And then I was like, oh yeah, like the mystery is intentional. We're going to get through this.
Yeah. So sometimes you just have to be along for the ride, you know?
So now I know for book 3, I will be rereading both books, and I will not be audiobooking in any way, shape, or form. It's not for me for this book, unfortunately.
I definitely feel like I need to. I've only ever audiobooked these books, and I think a physical or an immersive read would be really good.
I did immersive.
Oh, okay. I love the narrators' voices. I think they're great. So I think an immersive read, especially for book 2, would be really nice because the cast was so great.
So I did briefly mention the whole family tree and figuring out who the heck these people were.
Yeah.
Was
dedication.
I was so dedicated. Okay. Look, you guys can go look at the Discord if you want to see my, like, I think I had 8 questions or something. But was there a point where you figured out who Caspia is or was?
So I don't know why my brain does this to me, but I will be reading a book and I will just assume information, like as if that has been stated fact in the book occasionally.
Yeah.
And then I'll read the whole book and realize, oh no, either that was a plot twist and I'm just now supposed to be figuring out that information, or oh no, why did I think this was true? Now that none of this book makes sense and I need to reread the whole thing.
I think it's a neurodivergent thing. I think that it's pattern recognition and we're just assuming that that's what it is because we pick up on it. I don't know.
And that, that is probably definitely part of it. And so from pretty early on, I was assuming that was her mom from very early on. But I wasn't thinking like, oh, I figured this out. It was more like somewhere my brain had assumed some sort of context clue that confirmed it was her mom. I don't know why. But then the point where with Andress, when it turns out he was the prince, because I was like, okay, so that's her mom. So is this her dad? Because I was assuming this was her mom, I was wondering the whole time if Andress was her dad, because I knew the dad was the king. And so I was thinking either he's her dad and the king isn't actually her dad, or Andress is secretly the king and she just hasn't found out yet. So that was like more of a twist for me than Caspia.
Yeah, I was.
if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense because I was confused there. My initial thought was that it was her mom because, again, I was like, do we have the name of the mom and dad?
Because Kinsey's on Ancestry.com.
No,
just
literally. And I was
genealogy tree.
I was too scared to Google it, obviously. Like, what's the name of the king? Do we have the first name or blah, blah, blah? So I obviously thought that it was her mom right away. But then, I don't know, it was just so strange because the POV just also made it seem at times like it was present day and then it was past. And it came to a moment where I thought that they were actually going to overlap and see each other in Quintus, and they didn't. But yeah, I definitely thought that Caspia was her mother, and that was from the very beginning. But yeah, it was just so hard. And again, like the whole family tree, I was like, okay, well, if she saw her sister being killed by ransom and that just happened, then how old is her sister? And how is that? Like, girl, I got the ages and everything. I did it all.
I love that. I'm going to have to go check that on the Discord because I was avoiding that because I didn't want spoilers because I was reading after you.
Yeah. But there was also a moment where I wondered if Caspia was Odessa's sister because Caspia also had her mother go missing and nobody ever knew what happened to her. And so I was like, well, maybe they share the same mother. And I couldn't remember if we had the details of how Odessa's mom died. And so I was like, maybe they have the same mom, or maybe it's a cousin or an aunt or whatever. But I was still like pretty solid on it being her mom. And the same thing with the king. I was just like, so this is a hunter, but now he's a lord and suddenly he's the king. So it was just like really weird, but yeah.
Yeah, and I do think there was something about the Caspia storyline, which her history I found so interesting because I love backstory. Your girl loves backstory, okay? You know, if you've ever seen me talk about Empyrean, you know how obsessed I am with the fables and the Six and all of that. I'm obsessed.
Yes.
But that being said, I think one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy this book as much is because Caspia's storyline felt like Odessa was repeating history and just didn't know it. And because I was assuming Caspia was her mom the whole time and assuming that she is dead, I didn't get attached to Caspia. Like, I didn't let myself, I guess, emotionally attach to her because I just assumed she was dead. So the whole time I'm reading it, I'm not attaching to a character that's 50% of the book. That's just how I read it. Like, it's totally valid to have gotten attached to Caspia and all of that, even if you knew that was going to happen. That's just how I read it. So half the book, there's this character I'm not attached to. And it also just felt like Shield of Sparrows' story all over again in Caspia, because it's about a girl who goes off on an adventure to a far-off land and falls in love with a man that she doesn't know is actually going to be the king.
In that sense, it is. But I did feel like this was much better about. Like, I felt like, I don't know, it was more interesting to me than the arranged marriage. Because in the sense, it wasn't an arranged marriage and he didn't really want anything to do with his position. But
yeah, I just loved the forced proximity of book one. I just ate that up. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the twists. I felt bad for her that I felt like she didn't have any women in her life that were like really there for her. That kind of sucked.
Yeah. It was just strange to me that Caspia would say, oh, my dreams are never of the future. It's only ever the past. And that just is what kept really throwing me with her point of view. And then it started to like merge with the present. And I was like, well, how is she having these visions and writing in this journal? And then Odessa has a journal. Like, is she just having the same visions as this other person? Because we don't know who wrote it and it's the different languages. I was so confused, man. Even though I was convinced it was her mom, I was just still so confused about the timeline. And that just kept throwing me through a loop.
I guess I just assumed she was making a bad assumption.
Yeah.
I was like, this has got to be the future. There's no way. And then it was. My brain was making a lot of assumptions while I was reading this book. And I think it was actually, even though I was right, I think it kind of ruined the reading experience because it didn't feel like there was any twists for me.
That's how I felt for the first book.
Yeah.
I was not surprised by anything in Shield of Sparrows.
I mean, I feel like I saw a lot of it coming, but it was still enjoyable. What I didn't see coming was the whole Jocelyn thing. I knew Jocelyn was up to something because she was like missing so much of the book. I'm like, where is this girl and what is she up to? I didn't see her sleeping with Xavier. That threw me.
I think the only thing that threw me was the discovery of Lyssa. The disease. I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on that, but I'll get to that later.
So overall, did you enjoy Caspia's point of view? I mean, it sounds like you did, because it sounds like it was your favorite part of the book.
I did. It was my favorite point of view. I had zero interest in Odessa's point of view, like genuinely. I only wanted to continue reading Caspia's story. It was just so interesting to me. I'm not a hater on Odessa. I just want to be very clear, but I just really, really enjoyed Caspia's story. And it was the mystery that kept making me want to come back to it and keep reading so I could learn more.
I totally get that. I think had I not read book 1 first, I think Caspia's story would have been really interesting to me first, up front. I think it just felt like this book being broken up between those two point of views, when I believed the whole time she was going to die, I just kind of felt like I was getting a lot of backstory on a character that just wasn't going to be here by the end of the book.
This reminds me a lot of a debate that happens in another series that I can't talk about.
Okay. But I did think Caspia was a very interesting character. I think she was well written. I think her story is interesting. I would love a story of her homeland. Like, I think that whole story would be really interesting.
I wonder what her aunt's going to do. And that sucks for her sister because Caspia caused her sister's death unknowingly. That really sucks for her. I want to learn more about the Swift migration and if this is the reason why they're not able or not allowed to go to this continent. So,
yeah, because it seemed like they exist in both, but here they behave erratically and wrong. And it seems like we got some of the explanation, but I don't feel like we have a full explanation that makes sense yet.
It's the Voster magic and the demons that are corrupting the land and therefore corrupting their brains as they shapeshift.
Yeah, but they're also drawn to it. So I'm like, if this is a curse and it harms them, why would they be drawn to it? Like, there's something that's not quite computing to me about the fact that they're drawn to it. So I think there's like another layer to this that we don't have yet.
Be very
interesting.
That makes sense. It does make sense.
Which I'm very curious about.
What were your favorite moments, Karly?
I think my overall favorite moment of the whole book was when her sister stepped in to help defend her. And this is going to be our first trigger warning. This is a trigger warning for SA. It is not graphic. It is mentioned in this scene. If you want to skip it, go to the timestamps in the show notes. That moment when her sister steps in and the guards are threatening her, they want to take Faze, which I was like, hell no, that won't be happening. And she's afraid that they're going to SA her. And it's very scary in that moment. But then her sister steps in and is finally like getting her sister's back. And I'm like, finally, she's acting like she actually cares. Because I just want her to have that relationship with her sister, because it was just so sad to me that her sister just acted so indifferent towards her. And so I just really loved that moment for them. So I really did love that.
Yeah. We have beef with bad sisters.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah. No, that was a good moment. And you mentioned Faze. Because everyone was crashing out, I was expecting something bad to happen to Faze the entire time. I wasn't expecting it to be Caspia.
I was so glad he was okay at the end. I was so scared for him.
Me too. I think, honestly, for me, one of my favorite moments just had to be Caspia's relationship with the librarian and everything. Like, I don't know what it was about it, but every time she was in the library, just like writing in her journal, I was like, yeah, that sounds really nice. Which is such a lame moment to have, but I don't know what it is with me with this book. I'm probably like the weirdest, most unpopular opinion out of anybody that has read this book. I just feel, I don't know, not strange, but I feel like I have the most unpopular opinion.
I don't think it's an unpopular opinion.
Okay. Honestly, though, like I will say, and this is probably super fucked up, but the very end, when the king was just cradling her body and she saw her death and she knew exactly what was going to happen. And then he was asking for a blanket because she was cold. I loved that. But I love trauma. I thought that was a really good scene.
It was very well written, and I really appreciated that scene. I thought it was really well done. It was very heartbreaking because I didn't let myself get attached to the character. I did not cry, but it was still heartbreaking. It was so sad. Andrus loved her so much to the point where, you know, he never goes to bed with another woman. You find out that her sister isn't her sister by blood.
Dude, I loved finding that out, though.
Yeah, that was a good twist, actually. That might have been the one twist I was really like, that totally came out of nowhere for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I loved that she didn't care. Like, she just didn't care. She's like, even with her sister not treating her well, she still just loved her sister as her sister.
And realizing why Margot treated her the way that she did and made her cover up her hair. It all came full circle.
Yes. Those relationships to me had the most growth in this book and were the most interesting to me.
Interesting.
I do want to mention really quickly, and this is our last trigger warning, and it's for animal death. So again, you can go to the timestamps if you need to skip ahead. The one moment where I teared up hard was with Freya when her horse died.
That was so sad.
I was not okay. I was not crying, but I think I disassociated from that scene. I was not okay. I'm going to have trauma from that. I'm going to need to talk about it in therapy.
I remember reading that scene and being like, was there a trigger warning list for this?
There is a trigger warning list for the book. I did check. It is there if people need it. It does mention animal death.
It was so sad.
It was really sad. I was not okay. And not only with the fact that her horse died, but that she had to put her out of her misery and like keep the beast from harming her more. Listen, I am not the strongest soldier. I could have never.
The strongest soldier.
Listen, I don't know how she did that. I don't know how. I just.
No.
I'm not strong enough for that. Okay, no. I was not okay.
I also thought it was really interesting how they were following their magic to, I don't know if they're orbs, but they would like collect the evil foster magic. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, that was really interesting. That was something, though, that I wish we would have spent more time on in either point of view. For me personally, especially Odessa's point of view, just because that's where they need to find them now.
Yeah, and I'm like, how many do they have? How many Horcruxes are left to go?
Yes.
That's kind of the vibe it gave off, at least.
It does give that vibe to a serious extent. I'm very interested in that. I am interested in book 3. Just because I didn't enjoy book 2 as much as book 1 doesn't mean I didn't still enjoy the book, and I'm looking forward to book 3 for sure. I just have a problem where my brain decides a character's going to die. I just disassociate from them a little bit, and then I don't get attached, and then there's no emotional payoff for me, and that's just, there's something wrong with me is what I'm trying to say.
Can't really. I still get attached to characters I know that are going to die, but that's a me problem. Speaking of characters, is there anything you'd like to add about characters in this book?
I don't know that I have anything specific other than I am concerned for Faye's future based on his... They're really concerned about like, oh, he's getting bigger. He's going to get more wild. We'll have to release him. So I'm really scared about Faye's and what's going to happen to him.
Well, he's also playing rough with Ransom and scratching him. And I'm like, bro, it's going to get to the point where he's going to nibble on him and bite him playfully. And then he's going to contract Lysa.
I will not be okay. Okay. That's... Yeah. So I'm concerned for Faye's future. I wish I would have gotten a little more character development for Odessa and Ransom.
I agree. I also wish that we got more of Ransom's friends. I know from Caspia's oracleness, I don't know what to call it, her prophecy, we know that his friend had the baby and the husband makes it because she saw a vision of a man with one leg playing with the baby. But I'm like, okay, what happened? Like, what's going on? Where is everybody?
I feel like we could do a deep dive just on all of the visions and what they lined up with and what's still to come and do some theorizing around that. That could be fun.
It's so interesting.
If we ever have time.
I know, right? That's the big issue, right?
Yeah. So many books to read this year, you guys. They just keep announcing more books.
Oh my God. Like Rebecca Yarrow's mysterious untitled book that's coming out.
Non-book 4 Empyrean book.
Yeah. Maybe by the time this episode releases, we'll actually know what that is. But so far, we know it's not the graphic novel, and we know it's not book 4. So one can assume that it's a novella. But this is not a talk about the Empyrean series. So
Yeah.
but all that to say, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many books coming out this year. I can't keep up.
I know.
I can't keep up.
I can't keep up either. Well, we're definitely going to have to do a reread at some point and before book 3, and maybe do an episode for some theories for book 3 before it comes out. That should be fun.
Absolutely. How do you think they're going to solve the issue of Odessa turning?
You know, I've thought a lot about that. I think that there is going to be something about Odessa that is somehow part of the solution to this problem because she is of both lands, because that does get brought up where she talks about how her blood isn't green, it's red. She doesn't have the same abilities her mom did. She's not as fast or as strong. She does heal quickly, though. She does bring up the fact that she was poisoned as a child and it should have killed her, but it didn't. And so I do think her blood is going to be part of the cure for Lysa because of that, and that there is something about her of being of both lands that is going to help cure this. So I think she is kind of the key to this.
Well, I mean, her aunt is probably the one that started it, right? Like, that's confirmed, right? That's not just an assumption that I made.
That the aunt is the bear wolf that bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not 100% confirmed, I don't think, at the end of the book, but there's enough context clues that we believe that that's the one that bit Ransom.
We're pretty sure.
Started from here.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure.
We're pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, she's like, hey, auntie, can you not? Speaking of, though, okay, I need to get this off my chest.
Okay.
I have discovered that I hate, with a capital H, hate the trope where the MMC is slowly going insane and like turning into something else, and just, I hate it. There are so many books, like I think in the last year I have read 4 books now that have all had this. And I know that they need to have conflict in a relationship, but I absolutely fucking hate it. Like, I do not want them to turn into a monster or some other creature or forget who they were or lose their soul or whatever. There are just so many fucking books that I have read lately with this, and it stresses me out and it makes me angry, and I'm not invested in Ransom because of it. Like, and I'm sorry if that makes people sad, but I hate it and I don't like it.
I understand what you're saying. I do totally get that. The reason why I actually enjoy it as a trope, and maybe potentially other people will relate to this, is because of the concept of, do you have to become the monster to stop the monster? Like that philosophical thinking of, where's the line when you're trying to stop a great, whether it's an evil or a big problem like a plague, where is the line? Yeah. Right? Like, it's like a trolley problem, sort of.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit in our Project Hail Mary episode. And I do enjoy seeing people think through that and write it out into a story of, when is it okay to become the monster to stop the monster?
But I mean, it's not a trolley problem in this situation, though. He was bit by a creature and he's just slowly losing himself, and he's like, I can't sleep with you anymore because I'm gonna choke you or whatever. Like, he's just succumbing to a disease in this case, in this specific book, in this story. You know, some of the other books that I've read that have that trope as well, and you haven't read others that do have this trope, but I'm not gonna say which ones. But in this case, he's not choosing to turn and become this monster. It's just something that came upon him.
He's not choosing it, but he is using the abilities that it is giving him to hunt these other beasts and to try to stop, like, because had he not been infected, right, he wouldn't be able to hunt them with the ones that are infected with the success rate that he has had. So he is the most successful one at hunting down these infected beasts and trying to slow the spread of the infection that is causing these greater and greater problems. And they're so afraid that the Swift is going to get it, and they don't want that to happen. So there is a bit of him succumbing to this idea a little bit in order to stop it becoming a bigger problem.
Yeah. Now, do you think that Odessa, in her vision, turns into a crux because, well, I'm assuming it's a crux. It could be a different animal. But do you think she's turning into a crux because he's losing himself and she needs to take him down? Or it's for a different reason that she's turning? For the record, I did finish this book like almost 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. So it's been a little bit longer for me since I had finished it. But I want to say he gave up his sword and was just like willingly letting her unalive him. Is that correct in my assumption?
I'm going to be really honest with you. I thought that vision was her own vision of what happened with Andrus at first because he didn't want to hurt her.
I thought that vision was her turning and it was Ransom that was dying.
I guess I made one assumption and you made another. So now I'm not sure.
Let me just pull up my book real quick. Yeah, it's about Ransom.
It
says, a silver-eyed warrior falls to his knees as the ground trembles. Dark green blood drips from his fingertips. A deafening scream pierces the air. The beat of massive wings blows the hair from his face. He stares at the monster and sets down his blade, and before the warrior meets his end, he whispers, "My queen," which is also what Ransom calls her. The silver eyes, the green blood, and the "my queen." That's definitely Ransom. So
it does have to be Ransom. If it's Silver Eyes, it has to be Ransom, I feel like, unless there's just some other character we don't know about yet.
It has to be.
So most likely Ransom.
Yeah, most likely. I'm not stressed about it.
I don't think he's going to die at the end of the series, though. So I guess I'm just not that worried about it.
I'm not stressed about it at all. I think Caspia had other visions that ended up changing or not happening. And so I think the same is going to happen here, and it's not going to happen. But wouldn't it be interesting if her pulse ends up sending her back to the motherland?
That could be a part of the next book, though, is her finding her family line. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think a big part is going to be finding the rest of the little, I'm calling them magic orbs because I don't really know what else to call them, but I think
that's what I've been calling them too.
Yeah, so it's obviously going to be finding the rest of the magic orbs. They already have some, but they don't know how to destroy them. And then she's having the pulse already. So she's going to have to figure out what to do with her impulse. And then I think she's going to be curious to find her family. And she's going to try to find a way, obviously, to save Ransom and to save her aunt, who is stuck. Rip Xandra. It'll be really interesting.
Well, we'll have to do a reread before book 3 comes out.
Absolutely.
And come up with any final thoughts and theories, machinations before it drops.
Yeah, thankfully we have until March to do that.
All right, any other things you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I think I got it all off my chest.
Okay. And this is where we leave you today, Basic Book Besties. Thank you so much for listening. Please leave us a review and join us next week. If you need more bookish content, we have a crash course season for the Massverse, spice ratings, our thoughts on recent adaptations, upcoming Fourth Wing deep dive topics, and more. If you stick around, we have really fun author interviews scheduled and discussions on some of our favorite contemporary romances.
You can join us over on Patreon, where you can access all of our episodes ad-free, 3 days early, and in full video, plus extras like exclusive book club access and shoutouts on the show. You'll find our Patreon link in the show notes, along with all the ways you can support the podcast.
Don't forget to stay in the loop by following us on social media and joining us in our Discord chat. Who knows, you might just meet your next book bestie there. You can also check out our website, basicandbookishpod.com, for info about our upcoming seasons, our contact form, and more. We've linked that down in the show notes.
Until next time, reach out on Discord to let us know what you thought about the ending of Rites of the Starling. See you there.